What's up, my crypto legends? I have him here, Sam Price from Crypto LIFER. I've been following him for the last few months. We've been in contact as well inside of the comment section from live streams. He is here. He's going to tell us all about who he is, how long he's been in crypto, and what does he think with the current crypto market situation. But first of all, Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. God bless this life, man. And I'm so excited every day to be here. And what a great opportunity to be on your channel. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely welcome. Yeah, I mean, I've been checking you out for the last few months, and there was something about you saying, we need to get into collaboration. There was actually people from my community saying, hey, you need to do a collaboration with Crypto LIFER. And like, if the community want it, then we have to do it. So here you are, and yeah, basically tell us a little bit about you. How did you get started into, basically investing crypto in general, and then we'll go through what is your opinion looking at the charts.
My community also mentioned you one time. You know what I mean?
Nice.
One of the someone saw that I actually threw you a super chat, and they DM'd me and they said, "Andy is such a nice guy. I'm so happy to see you on his channel." And so like that kind of started it. It's funny. Our communities tend to pull YouTubers together. I really like that. Yeah. So cool. At a young age, I saw people. I basically stayed over a kid's house that had a maid. All right, I was not like 10 or 12 years old, and I never had a maid. I grew up middle class. My mom was a school teacher. My dad was an iron worker, went up hundreds of feet in the air to pay the bills,
Oh, wow.
So that was like, you could like literally we didn't take care of our cereal. He's like, oh, Martha will take care of it. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I don't have to clear my plate. And that began. And then I saw the houses they were living in. I saw yachts pulling in. I started realizing there was another life outside of the middle class life, and two of my good friends sold a company for $225 million. They were flying me places in helicopters for the weekend, and then I'd go back to my regular apartment and be like, huh,
that was cool.
Like, yeah. And I wanted to fly them somewhere. It got to the point where I'd been taken out to dinners. I'd seen opulence my whole life. It had been thrown in my face. And I think it was almost like my destiny. Like there was a reason why I kept seeing it. And I said, man, you can go to higher levels in this world. Like you don't have to stay at the level you're at. And I'm using finance, but I'm really just talking about anything in life. Like you can push in bodybuilding, you can push in art, you can push in finance, like whatever you choose to be in, you can take it to the next level. So my mind at a young age said, wow, like there's another level to life that you could live, And I also said, why? Like, how come we had a car with holes in it and they had brand new SUVs and Mercedes, you know what I mean? Like, how come, like, I used to direct the Mercedes when I was a kid. I was the parking director, and we never owned any of that stuff. Like our cars were old and we had the same van for 20 years, and I just said, man, like, eventually I would be in a nice car, a friend's parents' car or something. And I would notice it. I was like, wow, this is a fancy car, and I wanted to say that I could have all the things that ever existed in life. I never wanted to say no. Like I felt why, and that kind of created a burning inside of me at a young age, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. I was like, man, and I did entrepreneur. I sold fun dips. I always had the entrepreneurial spirit. As I got older though, I was confused. Didn't really know where I wanted to go in life. Got into film and video, got into film school, was like, oh, I'm going to be a filmmaker. That went okay for a while. And I did love making films, and I got in behind the computer. But they would give me, and eventually I would get a desk with 2 big screens, and I would be waiting on the footage. The footage wouldn't come, and I'd be sitting there. And eventually I started researching finance and trading. And I also, when the 2009 crisis happened, I was watching YouTube, and Peter Schiff was saying, there's going to be a housing crisis. These are all these swaps are A's, but they're really D's. Like these are horrible. Like these people can't pay these mortgages. And I listened to him, and I was always a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I've always listened to the outside consensus. Like I don't listen to the masses. I try to find outside information. And I looked at the history. Where did the light bulb come from? Was it everyone out drinking in the bars? And no, it was a dude alone in some shed sitting there alone. Right. So all of the greatest things that we saw, a lot of our truths, a lot of our biggest inventions, they came from isolated minorities. The masses weren't involved. So whenever the masses is screaming something, a light bulb goes up in my head, and I said, that's probably not the truth. The truth is probably somewhere else. So I started through history, right? I researched history, and I started finding the truth in these small pockets of time and space. And that got me into researching, foreign, basically fiat currency. And by 2010, when the housing crisis did collapse, I called Peter Schiff, I went to their website and I bought myself my first gold bar at like $880, $900. First time in my life, I had taken myself away from the fiat system, right?
Yeah.
Now that gold bar is $2,000 now today. Like, and it took 10 years. I doubled my money, or even more than that, about 15 now. That was in 09, right? But the point was, I did beat inflation that day when I put my money into gold, right? It wasn't the greatest investment in the world,
Yeah.
but that kind of sparked my mind. I said, okay. Then I started buying it. I eventually amassed 40 grand of it. You got
Wow.
40 grand of gold and silver in a 1-bedroom apartment in Queens. All right.
Wow.
I
Yeah.
don't trust the banks. I don't trust putting in a safety deposit box. I figured they'll just go open up the boxes if it's really the end of times, and they're just going to grab your gold and silver. Then you
Yeah.
had companies that said they held it in the vault. I was like, do you really ever have it? So, and then I said, Armageddon's coming. I'm going to run with my family. And I had literally one day I kind of did like a prototype, and I put the backpack on, and the silver was super heavy. The gold was all right. And I said, man, I might have to throw some silver just for socks and food. Like, I can't carry all this stuff as the man. So it didn't make sense. Didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I started trading it. I said, okay, I can trade gold and silver. So I start trading it. I start trading JNUG and JDST on the New York Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
It's an electronically traded fund. Right now they're 2x directly on daily, but at the time they were 3x. It was a directly on daily ETF.
Okay.
And that's how I taught myself how to trade. You know, I made like $4,000 a year or something. It wasn't a lot. And I made 2 or 3 trades here and there. And then I got into Heckler mining. Great Panther Limited. I put $2,500 into that, turned into near 10 grand on a 40-day swing trade. I was just getting emails. The guy was saying, hey, we're buying this, and I took a shot, I was like, all right. Same company was the National Inflation Association. I don't really put a lot of, there was a YouTube channel. Again, I was researching 9/11 and conspiracy theories, and it brought me into fiat currencies. And I have a video 9/11 to Bitcoin. Without 9/11, I don't think I ever would have learned about Bitcoin, so that huge monumental world event opened my eyes and made me think, man, what else do I not know? Like, what is going on in the world that I can't see? And it made me realize that I was blind to so much, and I started deep diving, right? And so it's funny how the opposite happens, right? They want a certain reaction, and it kind of spurs a different reaction, right? So yeah, so then I kept trading, and then I eventually did okay. But I got into Bitcoin, and I learned about it at $300. I did start buying it around $1,500 to $1,000. I wish I bought it earlier. I learned about altcoins before Bitcoin. A guy in the street had an Ethereum shirt on. I was selling drones. I had a drone company. I would buy drones at a warehouse and resell them on the street at these street fairs. Guys walking by with an Ethereum shirt on. I said, what is that? He said, oh, I worked on it. I was one of the main 200 coders, and I helped create Ethereum. And I said, whoa, and he gave me CoinMarketCap on the phone, and he said, this is all the tokens, and you can buy a token, and a token represents a coin. And I'm like, what? And he blew my mind. And so I spent all day at work in like late 2015, early 2016, just like clicking through CoinMarketCap and just being like, now I was already I was already kind of the entrepreneurial spirit, and I was already an investor, and I'd already made some money investing. So I knew you found emerging markets, and you tried to get in early, and you take shots. And so as much as I'm a trader, I'm also a speculative investor. Like, I look for emerging markets, and I throw money. Like, I've already put in 20 grand into AGIX. Like I start building bags in the bear markets early, but I also love to trade. So I'm lucky enough that I made my money long-term investing. Other people start short-term trading and become long-term investors. I was like a long-term investor that went backwards into short-term trading because I had the time now.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my, and I knew about Ethereum at $9, didn't buy it. When it went to 89, I was kicking myself. So I was late in 2016, and then I bought Ethereum at 89. I would sell it at 371. One of my first trades in crypto. And then, I mean, the bull run would happen. I get goosebumps. I got into Cardano at 2 cents. I mean, my life would change forever. Like, and then eventually I had enough savings that I could start. I didn't have to work for someone else ever again. Right.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, and then I felt unfair. I said, how come I'm 40 now? I turned 40 in April. I said, I'm 40 years old. I definitely, unless I do something really stupid, I should never be in debt I will never be in debt for the rest of my life. I'll never work for someone again for the rest of my life. I will be my own boss. I will live my own destiny. And I have to hold back tears, really, because I worked at night shift for 5 years. I didn't come from opulence and wealth. My dad did not wear 3-piece suits every day. He was an iron worker. My dad did dress nice. He did have a selection of ties and stuff that he did give to me when he passed. But it's so that's my story, man. I think it's a little different than a lot of the other guys on YouTube because I came from like a traditional investing idea. And I also broke down fiat currency and have a history of like why I'm in this. Like I didn't just find a shiny technological toy with Bitcoin. I was
Yeah.
researching history and finding a way to get out of the fiat system and the parasitic banking system. So yeah, sorry to be long-winded. I tend to talk a lot.
No, but yeah, no, I mean, it's a fascinating story, man. You know, it's always really nice to get to know who I'm interviewing. You know, the community wants to get to know you. So, you know, all information is absolutely great. So, I mean, fascinating story there, Sam. And basically, now that you're in the space, now that we know where you're coming from, what do you think is going on right now with crypto in general or the market in general? So we can focus on Bitcoin mainly if you want. And, you know, where do you see where we at right now with the market cycle? You know, maybe we can do some short-term technical analysis, projections. Do you see, you know, the bear market continuing? Is the bottom in your personal opinion? Of course, nobody knows if the bottom is in, if there's going to be a black swan event or something, or a recession. But what is your sentiment right now, looking at the charts for Bitcoin?
Yeah, no, that's another thing that I try to do. I try to differentiate myself from
Mm-hmm.
other technical analysts because, like for instance, I've been calling the bottom. And again, you're not. I
100%
am.
sure. Yeah.
I am trained as you can never say what will happen for sure because we know that the world is a moving system and anything could happen. Black swan, right?
Yeah.
But let me share my screen here. One thing I one thing I do represent, my whole style is based on probability.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it scientific data, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do scientists do? They get a control and then they do this experiment 100 times over, right? And
Mm-hmm.
they eventually get a probability. And they have nothing else to go on at that point, but they say, well, when we poured water on this, it got wet. I mean, that's the worst example, but you know, and they go from there, right? But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I wish I had a better example of that. When we give the mice this, he does a twirl, you know. But so over time, you eventually gain a data set. And that's
Mm-hmm.
why, have you ever heard time in the market is better than timing the market?
Yeah.
It means, you know, there's two ways to interpret that. One is to hodl your butt off and just, you know, be in the market. But another thing is the more you see, the more probabilities you're going to know about,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
I go to Bitcoin and I'm a divergence trader mainly.
Mm-hmm.
Like I trade everything, but if I were to pull a trigger on something, if when I
Mm-hmm.
see divergence, it makes me pull the trigger the hardest, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I'm good at identifying it because I don't that's another thing. I don't question my TA. Like once
Mm-hmm.
once I see a rising wedge, I
Mm-hmm.
don't say it's not a rising wedge an hour later. Like it's a rise, like, and that's the
Yeah.
thing with everyone, because once you get into your TA, like he does it too. He sticks to his thing, man. That's what I know when someone's consistent because I'm consistent. So I could pick up on this guy right after I watched him. 10 minutes of watching Andy, I knew he was the guy, he was someone I'd want to roll with. You know what I mean? I have this saying, my dad had this saying, would you bring this person on a deserted island? You know what I mean? And Andy, I would bring with me on a deserted island because I know while I was trying to make a shelter, he would be looking for food. Like we would
Absolutely,
both be
man.
grinding. We would make it. We would
We
survive together on that
would
island.
make a team, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Likewise.
So that's like, I look at
Yeah.
that. I look at people, I look at for survivors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Bitcoin had this low. And now here, this is where I bought 19K Bitcoin
Yeah.
because I found this as a divergence. Now, divergence changes. We
Mm-hmm.
got pushed up a little bit. I was like in the money. I thought it was great. And then we slammed down.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, that just solidified a stronger divergence.
Yeah.
And so what I did was I back tested. I'll go to the weekly. I went and I said, okay, I found weekly divergence. I
Mm-hmm.
said, is that the bottom? I went and I searched the S&P. I
Mm-hmm.
searched the Dow Jones. I looked at Bitcoin in its entire life cycle. I looked at Tesla. I looked at any stock. I looked at oil. I looked at like beans. Like I looked at anything that had a 20-year chart. Okay.
Yeah.
And I saw weekly bullish divergence like once every 7 to 8 years on these assets. And
Mm-hmm.
every time I saw it, it was a bottom. Not once was it not a bottom. Not
Yeah.
once. Not
Yeah.
once. So I said, so I've been going on blatantly, and like I'll let my YouTube channel go down, burn to the, you know, we'll go down on this, but like
Yeah.
I've been screaming from the hills since we broke this. And then I just needed to break this high for me. Once we broke
Yeah.
that high, I said, that's it. That's it. Another cool thing I do is trend analysis like you do.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned how I basically, my brain's super creative because I was an artist before I was a technical analyst. So my
Uh-huh.
brain tries to find ways to get data out of the original data that I already have. right? Without even watching YouTube, without watching any other YouTuber. So one day I'm sitting here and I said, well, how do we know we were going to dump? And I said, well, high, low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, lower low. And I said, that's like going to a cancer screening and you're good each week. You're good each week. But all of a sudden, the doctors say something's not right. The second you made that lower low, as a trader, you have to assume you're going to make a lower high. And that's when you enter the short, right? Another cool thing was, and hold on, I'm not done with that idea. Another cool thing is all you had to know was how to short a rising wedge. That was a rising wedge. Everyone said we're going 100K. Rising wedges break down 68% of the time. So you would have been 70, basically rounding up, you would have been 70 if you didn't know anything else but pattern trading and you took a beginner's trading course on patterns, right? And then on top of that, what I found interesting is I always look for confluence. I didn't call this top, by the way. I did call this top, but I did not call this top. But I did have I did put out a video of when to sell when the pi cycle crossed, and the pi cycle crossed here. So I basically had already done a video a month before saying sell when the pi cycle crosses, that will be the top of the market. So like,
Yeah.
again, I didn't heed it, but I did give information that had you listened to it, you would have sold that, that area. But this was also a shoulder, head, and a shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. And then you have your measured move is there to the neckline, and it's just crazy. Like that's like exactly what happened.
So yeah. Sometimes this basic technical analysis will just it does work, right?
It does. So the point is, this is the trend, right? So I flipped this upside down one day and I said, if I can figure out when the trend up ends, then I can figure out how to buy the bottom for Bitcoin. This is what I literally said this to myself. And so I said, okay, let's flip this upside down. And so look, low, right? Lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, higher low. I said, then you look for the higher, the higher high, then you look for the higher low, and that's when you rock out, right? And you should get a shoulder, a head, and a right shoulder. All right. So let's go into, so I started waiting, and I believe I can buy the bottom. Everyone else says, I really believe that I could buy the bottom, like, or at least damn near try doing it. And if I don't, I'll get at least and I'll put in 10, 20 hours, everything I have. So I was watching this and I said, wow, we have a low, we have the high, we have a low high, and we made the higher low. I said, all I need is the higher high. I said, all I need is the higher low, and we got it there. And but even before this low here, once we broke out of this and we broke that high, I was convinced that this was the bottom for the market, right? Just convinced. And and it was off years of data that I took it from. It wasn't what I think or what I feel, what I believe. Like I could give everyone else the data and you guys can tell me what you think. Like, it's screaming that is likely your bottom for Bitcoin. Again, who knows, right? I'm open-minded, but I will put my name on it that I am like 99%, and I put my money in there too, and if we go lower, fine, I'll grab it. So,
probabilities at the end of the day, right?
Exactly. And then just some levels to look at, like if we lose 25,980, we go to 24,3. And honestly, a lot of people are saying like, if we don't make a low lower than this low, that could definitely be our like local bottom. Like we may never go lower than that again, and Bitcoin could continue to roll. So, I have some orders down at 21.9 just in case. If they hit, they hit. I would love to get it. I'll tell you, everyone, a key thing that I've used. You don't have to be the smartest person in the room. You just have to be consistent and disciplined, really. I look at the 2-week chart. I also try to find time frames other people don't use a little bit. I find that kind of can give you a little more of a unique perspective. So I use the fear and greed index, right? It hit me one day. I was like, all right, whenever this crypto fear and greed index got into this shaded region, I would also slap the Bitcoin chart on, and I would look for the 2-week stochastics to be below the dotted line. And I'm telling you right now, that has been like, I've done it here. I've done it here. I did it there. That wasn't the bottom, but it was the bottom for that time period. And you went from 30 to 69,000. It gave me, and it's been giving me, it told me to buy here. It told me to buy there. It told me to buy there. It told me to buy there. So I kind of created my own little, I guess I could API this and make it into an indicator, but whenever we get into the shaded region on the fear and greed, and whenever the 2-week chart is below this in the stochastic, again, you're not going to buy exact, but that's when I just, in this 5 to 7 week period, I'm grinding. So like, to me, we're not ideal. It kind of tells me we could get lower prices based on this. We should have more, we should see some more fear, kind of what goes inside with what you're saying a little bit, that we should come back and hit that lower wick.
Yeah.
I've been trading the 30, the funny, if you look at my chart right now, it'll make you laugh, because like all day today, since my live stream ended, I've been trading the 30-second chart, right? But it's been playing out really. You can see how it's been, like, I played this little flag, then that flag, and now we're still in another ascending triangle. Like, Bitcoin is just really showing bullishness today, even on the very tiny, small time frame. So I saw, and again, I'm simple. Some days I really analyze everything I'm doing, and I will look at the bigger time frames. But like today I just literally, all I did was I went to the 5 and I saw this flag before it broke out. I just saw this, that line and that line, and we entered the trade there. And you know what I mean? It was that's called an ascending triangle. And we were above the 200 SMA. See, I'm a big guy on moving average. I'll teach you one other thing about moving averages that are really cool. So
absolutely.
Moving averages, when they get close and far apart, are very similar to Bollinger Bands. So for instance, I did call this top here for Bitcoin, right? And I'll explain. It's kind of cool how I call it. Forget me and what I did. I don't want to make it like, look what I did. I want to make it more how I expose TA. All right. So I don't want to.
Exactly.
Yeah. Cause like,
why did you call it
kind of,
there?
it can sound egomaniac. I don't want it to get like that, but
Explain
I put in the hours to figure it out. So that's the only way I can kind of explain it. But I started trading like the 1 and the 15 heavily. All right. And I found that whenever I was in a scalp trade on the 1, I would the time to sell was when we got really far away from my white line, which is the 21-day moving average. See, like you get high, you have to come back to it. You pump up. So you'll get like a bearish div and you'll get really far away from the 21-day.
Yeah.
So I learned that. And then I traded the 4-hour, and I said, wow, it does the same thing. Like every time I'm in a 4-hour trade, right? And then I tested on the daily. And then finally, Bitcoin had the huge pump on the weekly, and it got up really high here. And number one, my spidey senses went off. I said, that looks just like when I trade the 4-hour and the 1-hour when we get too far away from the 21. And I said, I think everything that I learned on the smaller time frames, I can transcend into the bigger time frames.
Absolutely.
And so, and I said, and this is when you really start to change as a trader, because I'm like, oh God. I said, and then I found the bearish div on the weekly and bearish div on the daily. And and when you see bearish div on the daily and the weekly, like it was up there too and down there. And I said, and the moving averages were just too far apart from each other. See the 21 and the 200. Whenever the 21 or the 200 are tight, I'm getting in on a if you use a big time frame like the 2-week. Whenever these moving averages are tight, that you're buying like the basically the best prices for Bitcoin ever. They're jumbled up. When they're far apart, you're buying. So now it tells me that we're probably going to go up, coming down. I need these
to get
my system tells me that these need to be all kind of come
together.
And when they're close, that is going to be boom. Like, so I can already see what's going to happen. You know what I mean? I just, I'll have to have as a 4-year cycle and be patient, and I'm going to get paid. You know what I mean? Like it's it's written in stone, man. As long as we don't have some crazy black swan and I don't die, like, we should be able to make this money, So
absolutely. So you're very much in favor of the cycle being, in your opinion, obviously nobody knows, but do you reckon that we are going to go back to all-time high 2024, end of 2024, beginning of 2025, Q1, Q2, or is this cycle different? Will it be in 2026 or 2027 and the bear market will extend?
I'm a common sense guy. Right. And I seem complex sometimes, but like, it comes from theory. So my idea is this: tomorrow, more people are going to know what Bitcoin is than today. Agreed?
Adoption. Yes, sir.
Right. The internet is expanding. Agreed? Right. Like my dad had an iPad before he died, and there's new kids that are getting, so the olds are getting switched on and the new kids are getting brought in. Right. So there's more human entities involved in the internet. Bitcoin is the internet of money. It's digital money. So once you learn more about the internet, you somehow eventually find out about Bitcoin, right? Absolutely. So with that theory in mind, I believe in a year from now, 5 months from now, more people are going to know about Bitcoin. So that means more people are going to know about the halving. So that means more people are going to FOMO in to an asset that's going to be scarce. So I think not only do I believe in the cycle, but I believe the cycle is also reinvigorated and actually reinforced and actually probably even more, I think it's even more ferocious. BlackRock ETF, you got big business coming in. Today, I just did news that the pension fund, Hidden Valley Pension Fund, I think Citadel or someone is getting involved with they're going to start putting crypto into their pension fund into crypto. I mean, pension funds are things you want to keep as solvent as possible. I mean, they are pretty risky with everything these days, but they try to be, so the fact that, because they're looking at emerging markets, bonds, stocks, and, it's kind of, crypto is so early now, it has the least amount of risk. If you're a 70-year-old man who's made billions of dollars, that means you've got into emerging markets many times in your life, and you've probably lost and you've won. But you dang well know that your best chance of making billions is an emerging market, because you're going to be able to speculate on things before people know their true value, right? So 100%. I get goosebumps right now as I'm saying that. I guess like I'm having these realizations with you. Like I don't even, these aren't written down. These come when I'm with you guys, like whenever I do interviews and stuff. And so, I mean, I'm excited. I'm super excited for what we're going to see in the future. And I also feel like they're going to show how Bitcoin is green and actually does utilize energy in the best way possible. I think there's going to be a spin on that whole mining thing, and it's already starting.
Exactly. I mean, it's so soon. I like to take a look at adoption as well. And, like I mentioned also in my channel, on a live stream that, there's a McDonald's in Switzerland that is accepting Bitcoin already as a payment system. We got the president candidate from Argentina who is a pro Bitcoin maximalist. We've seen all these different things popping out, which is a clear sign of this is the start of a huge major adoption on Bitcoin, which is a scarce asset. There's only ever be 21 million, and it's kind of it's a train that's not going to stop, and it's just going to go, continue, right? Or a rocket ship, right? It's just a rocket ship that is going to continue. So, absolutely. Adoption growing. I've seen the number of wallets as well worldwide. There's only 50 million wallets created yet, and we haven't quite yet reached 50 million. There's just about 8 billion people in the world right now, 7.5 or 8 billion, around about that range. So that's not even 1%, right, of the population. So what happens when 10% uses it? That's a 10x from current wallets created. And obviously I have a few wallets and you might have a few Bitcoin wallets. So that doesn't mean that it's 50 million people. It's only 50
I got
million.
like 15. Yeah, exactly.
Probably like 15 million.
Like 10 million. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just crazy how much, how soon everything is. Looking very exciting. Anyway, Sam, thank you very much for joining the channel. We'll be doing more collaborations. I absolutely love this, loving to see your, where you're coming from, your perspective, some of your tools that you're using with technical analysis. And I know that my community also enjoyed it. They've been asking for me for a collaboration with you.
Same.
So
respect
absolutely.
is mutual, man. It really is.
Man. Yeah. Well, you guys know, if you don't know him, it's Crypto LIFER. You can find him on YouTube. I'll be leaving a link down below in the description so you can check him out, subscribe to his channel, and obviously that you can find yourself on Twitter as well, correct? And some other social medias as Crypto LIFER.
At Crypto LIFER 33, where I just added 33, but
okay. I'll be leaving the links down below in the description so people can just follow your content as well. And thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to hop you on the channel, and I will see you in the next one.
No, thank you so much, Andy. God bless you and all your endeavors, man. And I really appreciate it.
Have a great day. Thank you.